again, Andrea.
Hello, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you. You're in the same place. I'm in a different place. So for part 2, what Andrea and I decided is we wanted to show you guys what every hip should be able to do, whether you're having a hip surgery or whether you have had one, or you're maybe trying to push one off, or it's been 5 years since you had it, but we tend to get out of doing those exercises. But these are really functional movement patterns that you can put into your day. And we're going to talk you through a couple different ways to do it, but maybe I'll go through the movements, and Andrea, you can talk about why this is important for not only your one bionic hip, but your second bionic hip.
Exactly. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
On both sides.
All right.
All right.
You don't really need anything.
Nope.
So what do you want me to do?
So let's do the right foot, step forward with both hands reaching backwards overhead. Great. And Robin, even if you turn to the side so we can all see what it looks like there, you can see with her left leg reaching all the way up to her hands, what a great total body stretch she gets from her left, all the way from her left foot all the way up to her hands. And then if you come back with your right foot and then switch and step, yep, exactly. And then you reach backwards. It's the same kind of thing. Her left leg's getting stretched, but this time it's the back of her leg going up all the way around her back down to her arms. And if you bring your chin to your chest, you'll even get a really great stretch all the way up through your neck, as long as you're comfortable with that movement.
Yeah, it's so important that whole posterior part of your body.
Yep.
So it's like the perfect place not to only be affecting the hip, but everything that helps the hip.
Exactly. And it was my experience, not only having had the hip surgery, but prior to the hip surgery, I was moving very differently than I typically would. Yeah. And so not only did my hips move differently and tighten up, but everything around it, or them, were also, tight or exactly. Yep, you can kind of probably recognize a lot of people with a lurch. That's
a lurch. Yeah. So look at what that does to my body. That's what you have to do to protect it from the painful arthritic feeling that you've got in there. So then there's those patterns, they kind of stick around. So that's why it's so important to do these full body things, right?
Yep, exactly.
All right, cool.
So that forward and back movement, those are two different directions. So let's go side to side, right and left. So yep, arms up, right foot going to the right. Yep, exactly. Right hand going straight up. And then right foot crossing over and left hand going straight up. And the same thing, if you look at her left leg, that's the one that's stuck, planted on the ground. It's the inside of that leg reaching up to her hand, and then the outside of her left leg reaching up to her hand with that reach.
And then here, we're getting all this.
Exactly. And again, critical, even if you're not inclined to move side to side a lot during the course of your day, even those muscles that are lengthened in those movements, they're also a contributor when you're moving forward and back, which is what we typically do. So the more mobile and strong they are, the better you're going to move overall.
Exactly. What's the other direction we need to think about? And I'll put a little something on the end of this to take everybody through this in a series.
Yep.
We'll just go piece by piece right now.
So then finally, let's talk a little bit about rotation. Mm-hmm. So if you are standing on your left leg, you can take your right foot, and then step diagonally backwards. Now in this shot, we can't see Robin's right foot, but what she, I'm sure, is careful to do is point her toe towards that back wall, because otherwise, if her foot's facing to the side, but she's rotating more, it could put a little extra stress on her knee, and we don't want that to happen. So that's the first direction. And then the other direction, yep, exactly, reaching around, is to cross over in front. And again, her left leg is planted, It's really the left leg that's going to get the most benefit from this as far as gaining motion and some stability there.
So with your surgery, was there anything you had to worry about in terms of rotation or side-to-side movement for any period of time?
So for my surgery, no. My surgeon, there's something that some people, some surgeons recommend. They're called total hip precautions. And for a designated period of time immediately after the surgery, they might recommend that you not bend your hip greater than 90 degrees, essentially meaning you can sit down, but then you can't sit and bend forward because that's bending your hip too much. You can't cross your legs, and you cannot rotate your leg in towards the middle.
Yeah, that's kind of dependent on the type of surgery and the surgeon.
Exactly. However, the way my surgeon explained it, and if you've had surgery and your surgeon making recommendations, I always recommend, listening to your surgeon. For mine, he didn't think that they were necessary. In the operating room, he explained that they tried to actively dislocate the hip a bunch of different ways to make sure it was extremely stable while you were still under anesthesia. And so if you can keep a hip in, then
hardest to get it out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So at least for me,
feeling pretty safe about it. And I'm sure not all surgeons do that. Okay.
So
it's a pretty, is it common in your experience? I could have my own answer for this, but for hips I know a lot of people are really fearful after that surgery for a while. I've worked with a lot of people. I can think of a few people in particular who really felt like, ooh, they had to really, kind of baby that hip. What's your feeling on that?
I feel like it's important to feel comfortable, but kind of like what I just said, unless there's some really unique precaution, your surgeon's competent in his or her surgery. At least for me, after the surgery, they wheeled me up. I stayed overnight in the hospital. They stopped the car gurney outside the doorway to the room I was staying in and made me hop off the gurney and walk into the room. And that's within hours of the surgery. And so feel like there's the key to that is finding the balance, challenging yourself as much as possible, but there's a couple of different ways that your body can let you know if you've done too much. And one is if it's really sore, really painful, either in that moment or significantly sore later, such that you can't really get comfortable no matter what you do. And then the other thing is if you notice a significant increase in swelling. Those are two ways your body lets you know that whatever you just did was a little bit too much and maybe back off a little bit.
And we're really talking about people kind of either who are thinking about getting this done or they've already had their PT.
Exactly.
Post-surgical PT. These are who we're talking to right now.
Yep.
It just isn't left to our own devices. I think most of us don't really challenge ourselves in the way that would really give you the most benefit out of that new hip.
Exactly. Yep, I would agree with that. Yeah. And part of it is, at least for me, I still kept that lurch for quite a while after my surgery, as we talked about, just because it was such an ingrained motor pattern. It was just the way my body knew how to move. And so it actually took some significant work to be able to kind of break that habit and to get into a more normalized walking pattern.
That's going to save you and everybody listening from developing issues in the back, the other hip, the knee, the neck, the shoulder. It's all so connected. So these full body movements are huge.
Yep.
So, I know that we have a hard stop here, but what I'm going to do, Andrea, is because one of the things that we did, because Andrea and I just love her, so I gave her a silk to have at home after your surgery, right?
It was right. Yeah, it was.
And she's had two. She's had both done. So I'm going to show you what Andrea does with the silks, because of course we have these here at BeFIT. You can do the same kind of thing in door frames, but how important it is, I'll do a video right after this, to get those hands up in the air and have something to lift that upper body up as you're moving.
Exactly.
I'll do that, and then we hope that you guys throw some questions at us after you've watched this, and we'll be looking at the Facebook feed, and I'll answer as many as I can, and I'll kind of pull Andrea in if we need to do that.
Great.
Okay?
All right. Well, it's been a lot of fun, Robin. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Andrea. All right. Later. Okay, so here are the daily moves that Andrea does. I'll show you without the silks and with the silks. So she takes, and I was put together what we showed you in the video. So it's a step forward. A lot of you have seen these movements before, and a step backward. Now here, if you feel comfortable, you might touch your knees and tuck your chin in to get that whole posterior chain lengthened out, which is super important. So go forward and back, just like that. And she probably does 10-ish on each side. I'll do about 5 here in the video. So then I'll go ahead and do my left foot forward, and then come back. And again, maybe even just tuck my chin. That feels pretty good. So I'll do a couple more here. And really what we're going for on these is the hip that's on the ground, the hip of the foot that's on the floor. It gets fully extended here and a really great flexion here. So now you would go keep that left foot on the floor again, reach up and across over. Now if people don't feel comfortable with this, you can stand facing a wall and you can touch the wall, or stand facing a doorway and touch the doorway, so you've got a little extra stability there. So then we'll go the left foot here and here, here and here. These, by the way, I do these every morning as well. I have my own hips, but I'd like to keep them. So this is one of the reasons, that's one of the reasons I do these every day. I actually do these several times a day because it only takes me like a minute. Then we rotate around. And a lot of times what people will do, they'll kind of over-rotate here. No need for that. So if you're standing on a clock, you go out toward like 3 o'clock with your right foot, and then kind of come back around the corner. Then with the left foot, go out toward, say, 9 o'clock, come back around the corner. All right? And now I'll show you what Andrea does with the silks, which, of course, we have here at BeFIT that our members can use anytime. She puts her hands up kind of high, but not all the way. So we want a little bit of a give in there. And she takes a step forward and just comes right back. And you can, and then back into it here. Feels really good. Okay, so then she would do her other foot forward and back. We did this in silks class this morning. Just forward and back there. Keeping those hands high, we just go the crossover and out to the side. And the extension that you can get in your upper back with this is just so amazing. Because, you know, we're always here, focused down on the computer, down on a book, down with writing. And this is such an amazing way to break that cycle. So then I'll do the other side, crossing over. I can't remember which side I just did, so I'll do this one again. Get to talking, you know. All right, so the last one with the hands up high is that rotational step with a little turn and a little turn. And that just, I mean, that just feels amazing. And then I'll do the left foot. A rotational step here, and a turn. So one of the things we sort of often don't think about when we have hip pain, whether we're talking about a hip replacement or not, it doesn't matter. But when we're talking about hip pain, one of the things that I have found over the years is that we focus on all these lower body things to try to get that hip to feel better and foam roll the heck out of it, which I do love foam rolling, but that's a side issue here. So we forget that to lift the ribs up off of that space in the hip can be the key to feeling better. So I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with over the years that once we get this lifted up and this space uncrunched, how quickly the pain can go away. So the last thing that Andrea does with the silks is she grabs onto them, and we're going for more to help with flexion here. So she's going side to side like this. So instead of being up high, it's a little bit more low. She steps back and steps back. She does that rotation and that rotation, that rotation, and that rotation. So just simple movement in every direction. Doesn't take long at all, but it's amazing what it can do for your hips, whether they're real, bionic, whether they hurt or they don't hurt. These motions are what our hips really need. All right, thanks guys.